Well, welcome to another Fishing Towel Films, and today I find myself seemingly in the middle of nowhere. That's because I am in the middle of nowhere. I'm fishing a venue for the very first time. I've never been here before. I don't really know much about the lake. I know it's got some mixed species like roach, rudd, perch, tench and carp, and maybe a few bream as well. Size wise, absolutely no idea what they go up to. Some venues you don't really find, or you can't find a lot of information. Maybe it's because it doesn't get fished that much. So I'm going to be using rod and line float tactics today, cast around a bit to see if I can locate some fish, and if I do, see what I catch. How exciting is that? Not knowing what you're going to catch from one bite to the next. Now, stockings wise, I really don't know. I might have to wait for me bites. Who knows? But that's the excitement about today's Fishing Towel Films episode. I'm on an unknown lake, and hopefully I'm going to catch a few for the camera. And like I say, I really don't know what's going to happen today. But bait wise, I've got some natural baits like maggots, worms, and I've got some sweet corn, some pellet. And I'm going to be feeding little tiny balls of ground bait and see if that can attract a few fish into the peg. So let's see what happens. I'm fishing a little bit further down there. Can set the tackle up and let's get fishing. Well, I've started fishing. It's probably, after plumbing up, I would say it's about sort of 4.5 foot depth there, maybe a little bit more. There's quite a bit of weed out there. There's like that sort of stringy weed that I'm picking up on the bottom, and I've put 3 or 4 small balls of swimsting green in to kick-start the swim. Probably about that sort of size. Catapulted out a few pellets over the top, and just to see how we go. Like I say, I've got some red worms with me, so if I feel that they want a natural bait, then I'll switch over to naturals. And I've also fed a swim right in the margins to my left. Got some nice sort of reeds coming up. If there's any tench about, then that's probably where they could well be. So I'm out in open water, probably about 3 or 4 rod lengths out, and then a little just primed a swimmer in the margins just to see if that will, sort of show any signs of any feeding bubbles, which will be quite exciting. Put a few little balls of ground bait down there, a few pellets. Started off on sweet corn. And let's see, it's early days yet. Exciting stuff. small rod. There, that is a tiny little carp, I think. Well, they said that there's carp in here, and there is. Obviously one of the offspring, I would have imagined. Nice looking fish, probably never been caught before. Pristine carp. Well, after the initial run of catching lots and lots of rudd, changed over to redworm, and I'm now catching lots of these tiny little carp. They must have spawned in this lake, because I know there is a few decent carp in here, and these certainly haven't been stocked, so I've probably had about 8 or 9 of these. They do scrap a bit, I must admit. I've caught them on maggots, I've caught them on corn, and now I'm catching them on little redworms. Got a nice bend in the rod for a fish that's really tiny, and it's the beauty of using nice float rod with a nice soft action. But hopefully there's a few bigger ones in here. There's only one way to find out. Another tiny little carp, put up a right old scrap. Thought it was a bit bigger than what he turned out to be. They've all been tiny carp. This is probably one of the bigger ones I've had today. Piece of sweet corn. I had to wait for the bite. It slid away, and put up, I say, a good old scrap of himself. I say I've been here, probably been fishing for about 4 hours now, and catching these on sweet corn, double pieces of redworm, tried double maggot, which was hard to get through the rudd. But so I've had a mixed species, roach, skimmer, hybrids, rudd, lots of rudd, and probably, I don't know, 12 or 13 of these carp now. Let's pop this one back to grow a lot bigger for another day. Well, catching those small carp, which I have been today, them sort of that size, sort of brings back lots of memories of when I used to do a lot of match fishing a few years ago on a couple of venues where that's what we used to target, catching fish of that size. And if you could, depending on what time of the year, in the winter time, if you could catch between 20 and 30 carp of that sort of size, you knew you pretty much were going to frame in the match, and that's what your target was. That's what you tried to aim for. If you could catch them just over the pound mark, that was a bit of a bonus. But there was also like carp in there that could, you know, sort of 3, 4, 5, 6 pounds. And if you could catch one of them, then that plus about 30 smaller carp, then you kind of knew you were on to win the match. So they were great matches, and I used to like sort of fish the matches as if I was just fishing for big roach. Nice forgiving tip, similar to the rod I'm using today, 13 foot match reel, fixed ball reel. They were fantastic matches, and close matches as well. And it was just down to the slightly better stamp of carp and sweet corn. I used to use sweet corn. That used to pick out the better stamp fish for me. And if I could catch them on sweet corn, it's pretty much I could get a bonus fish. And I used to do quite well. In the summer months, you probably needed between 80 to about 100, 110 of the small stamp fish. And then again, if you could catch some of the bonus fish, because there wasn't many of them in there at the time, then you pretty much knew that you were going to at least get in the top 3. So the bonus fish got you in the top 3. 80 to 100 of the smaller ones, you were pretty much in the frame, probably won your section. And they were great times, and catching these fish today of that size has just brought back memories of those days many years ago, fishing for what I used to call roach style carp fishing, small carp fishing. Fun times. Well, the tackle that I'm using today is quite simple, because like I was saying a bit earlier, I don't really know what's in the lake. I thought I'd use float tactics in a sort of way to try and just fish for bites, and that's basically how the day's been panning out. I've been catching all small fish though. I'm using a 13 foot, using my carbon active Sentinent 13 foot float rod. It's got a lovely tip action on it, lots of power on it. I've landed some big fish on this rod. I've got my Dower Ninja fixed ball reel, 6 pound line, just in case I hook into something a little bit half decent. My float that I was saying earlier on is the Drake Waggler float, which is a fantastic float. I love using these. They're step down peacock insert. It's got a little bit of a loaded base, and then I've just put some number 6 shot to fix it to the line. Then I've got some more number 6s about 18 inches from the hook. Using a B611 Camisan size 14 to 3 pound, 6 pound hook link. Then I'm using today I've used maggots, sweet corn, worm. Maggots I've just been pestered with rudd, so no surprise there. The odd carp has managed to get, when the bait has got down to the bottom, them small carp have took it. I've had most of the smaller carp on either double red worm or pieces of sweet corn. So that's basically it. I've been feeding 4mm F1 dynamite pellets over the top, a few little balls of swim sting green, not too much though, and just pinging out bait regular, trying to feed off the smaller fish in the hope that some of the bigger fish, if there is any, I'm sure there is, will come in and join the party. Seen no bubbling at all, but it is May, and May can be a funny old month sometimes, you know, when it starts warming up a little bit. Although it was 7 degrees overnight, sun was out, it's turned overcast, had a few showers as well during the day, which is exactly what the forecast said. That's what it said on my phone anyway, so that's been right. The wind's been on and off, but I suppose as it starts to get a little bit warmer, the fish are going to start thinking about maybe spawning, so they can get a little bit moody, and but there's nothing you can do about that. That's the way it is at this time of the year. So, but I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. It's bringing back memories of, like I said a bit earlier, catching small carp in matches. They were the target then. don't really know much about this lake at all, so it is really a cast into the unknown, to be honest. And like I always say, there's always a possibility in every cast. I'm going to carry on, still plenty more time yet. Even if I could get one bonus fish, I think I'll be happy with that. But I'm enjoying it. I'm out on the bank, I'm fishing. That's the main thing, just enjoying yourself. Beautiful surroundings, it's a lovely part of the world. Very scenic and peaceful. What more could you ask for, apart from a bonus fish? But that might still come. Well, they're certainly getting a bit bigger. And I actually weighed this one because I've been catching so small carp. This was actually £1 9 ounces, and it looks more like an F1 to me, but it's a piece of sweet corn and a red worm. I thought I'd try something a little bit different. It tore off, and nice fish. And like I was saying a bit earlier, when we used to fish them matches, bonus fish like this made all the difference. We used to bump up your weight and help you frame matches, and in some cases in the winter even win them. So hopefully they're going to get even bigger. I do hope so. I've started catching a few roach now, so nice size, not hand size. Well, we've just had another shower. The sun has stuck its head out and it's gone back behind the clouds again. It's been that sort of day, and I think it's probably time to call it a day now. I've had so many fish, lost count. Lots of those little carp, biggest round about the £1.5 mark. It's been fun. I've had no massive fish, of course, otherwise you would have seen them by now, but I've enjoyed it. I must admit, it certainly has been a cast into the unknown. Do I know any more about the lake? Well, I know that there's lots of small stuff in there, lots of small carp, lots of small rudd, and if I was to fish this another 3 or 4 times and the same result every time, then I'd probably think I'd start doubting whether there's a head of bigger fish in here. But after one trip, you can't sort of say that is the case. There's still lots of potential in this lake, and I shall come down again and give it a go, perhaps a little bit later in this season, and give it a go. So I'm going to call it a day. I'm packing up very soon. It's a beautiful place, it's peaceful, had a fantastic time. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you do, perhaps give it a like, and if you haven't, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back again soon on Fishing Tail Films, hopefully with some bigger fish, because I've got the National Tench Championships coming up in a couple of weeks' time at Linear Fisheries, and I will be filming my progress over the 48-hour event. So fingers crossed, I'll have a few nice tench during the event to show to the camera. In the meantime, tight lines, and see you again soon.